Okay, welcome to today's Audit Tuesday. This YouAttest podcast is going to focus on AWS, both what YouAttest does to secure identities in AWS, but also how to purchase on the AWS marketplace. To help explain all things AWS, we have a special guest, Chris Kesik, CTO from CloudArmee. How are you doing, Chris? In addition, we have our own Bill Lauterbach, YouAttest channel manager, and Kashif Mahmood, our technical field director. Greetings, guys.
Hi, Garrett.
How you doing?
Hey, Garrett. How are you?
All good. First of all, Chris, why don't you tell the audience about your background and what CloudArmee is and what you do for CloudArmee?
All right, great. Glad to be here. I'm Chris Kesik, the CTO of CloudArmee. We're a professional and managed services provider, AWS advanced tier partner. We specialize in helping businesses both design, implement, and manage their cloud environments securely and efficiently. So I'm in sunny California, Southern California. I got about 25 years background in IT architecture, software development, integration, and databases. I'm really passionate about helping organizations really leverage the power and elasticity of the cloud, while also minimizing risk and keeping safe.
And let me just add, Chris is a great resource to ask all things cloud. We're going to be talking about AWS here, but he knows his stuff on Microsoft and the other platforms as too. Okay, and Bill, why don't you tell the world what you do with YouAttest?
Sure. So I run the channel program at YouAttest. Been here about 6 months. But I wanted to also tell you how I work with CloudArmee, who's one of our MSP providers. They have been instrumental in helping YouAttest get on the AWS marketplace. It would have taken us at least a year by ourselves to do it. And instead, he got us on in a few months. Every time you click on a link at AWS, it sends you to another 100 to 300 pages to read. And it's really impossible to do it without some help.
No, that's a really good point there, Bill. It was thanks a lot there, Chris. Okay, so and Kashif will be introducing and we'll go into depth when we run a demo of what YouAttest and its auditing and compliance tool does in the AWS environment. Get you in a bit, Kashif. Okay, so Chris, the assignment here is about YouAttest on the AWS marketplace, which is a lot of work, as Bill just implied. Can you tell people what is the AWS marketplace and how it works in the AWS ecosystem?
Oh, sure. Everyone's heard of Amazon.com, but on the cloud side, the AWS marketplace is essentially an online store where customers can find software or services that run on top of AWS. It really helps you look through the catalog, discover services quickly, and get through your procurement process without any issues. There's a wide variety of vendors and solutions that are available, flexible pricing and billing. There's pay-as-you-go, there's subscriptions. And then one important thing about the marketplace is that it's all consolidated and charged directly to you as the customer, really streamlining any vendor onboarding or financial management aspect that you need to deal with your vendors.
Yeah. And AWS is still the 800-pound gorilla in cloud, right? I mean, they're the biggest players still.
Definitely. AWS is the choice of most big companies. It's the place to go if you want your cloud.
Okay. And, all things revealed, we're a cloud. We're AWS as well. So that's why we're on the marketplace. And Bill, Can you talk a little about what it took to get YouAttest on the AWS marketplace?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, it's pretty arduous journey. But at a high level, it's the first thing you want to do is you need to register as a provider by creating an account with your tax and banking information. Then you decide on what kind of product type you're going to be. There's a number of categories like SaaS solutions and professional services. And of course, we chose SaaS solution. And for our SaaS product, we had to go through what they call a well-architected framework review, which you have to fill out a bunch of Excel spreadsheets, send it in. When you finally get through all the remediation process, then you basically configure your package, setting up a pricing scheme, determine what relevant categories on which to list your product. So, when people search for, like for us, they would search user access reviews. Once we do that, then we submit the product, and AWS tests out a workflow to make sure that we can accept orders and then deploy our offerings to the buyers. So that's the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And so, let me get a high level. YouAttest is a next gen identity governance platform. And identity governance means what? It is the tool that helps you understand what you've given privileges to. And that's extremely important for security, but also for your audits. And it's and for all honesty, it's obvious we should be on the AWS marketplace to let people know that we're there. So Kashif, let me ask you a question. Well, I know you have do a demo later, but you can tell the audience a little what we do for YouAttest and AWS.
Yeah, sure. We have built a connector into AWS IAM where we pull the fine-grained entitlements into YouAttest to show the auditors the fine-grained entitlements in form of an audit campaign where it includes a root account, it includes all the users that have access to the environment. Plus, you can see what policy or group they have access to, so you can go granular and decide if that user needs access to that policy or that group, and you can recommend to either certify or revoke that access from that point onwards, and then download the report as an evidence to either provide it to your IT support desk to do those, take care of those revocations, and also present it to your auditors to show that this is what we have done with our privileged users, for example, all the admins and whatever privileges they had within the environment. And we have now, we are monitoring those, and we can also do the attestation for those roles and privileges.
Yeah, I think we're streaming live now, so it's great too. But let me keep on this. So Kashif, and it's really important for people who are, care about identity security, identity compliance. So it's not just does someone have access to AWS, the auditors and the security, it's not enough. You're going down into root users and groups and policies and permissions, right, Kashif?
Right. We can see the root account. We can see if the MFA is enabled or disabled. We can see the password enabled or disabled. So that can be security flags for a user if they come up red in an audit.
Nice. So this is the type of security that people need. Okay, we're going to and Kashif will join again with a full demo. But Bill, let's put you on the spot. Can you show the audience and discuss how we can be found on the Amazon Marketplace, the work you did with Chris?
Yeah, well, it's actually I don't even really have to show it. It's very simple. You just go to AWS Marketplace, and when you get into the marketplace, it pulls up all the companies, and all you have to do is search on YouAttest, and it'll put us right to our homepage and give you all the information about what we do, pricing, etc.
All right, all good. Okay, we'll make sure we'll put that in the LinkedIn link there and all that. Chris, back to you in the area of access permissions that Kashif mentioned. So what I'm trying to say is knowing not just the macro, which I always say is someone has access, but the fine-grained entitlements, that's pretty important for an AWS environment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, access permissions, roles, policies, it's the backbone of AWS access. So it determines who can interact with your resources and what actions that they can perform. We need to properly manage these permissions to make sure that we're both secure and compliant. It can be very complex, and especially in large and dynamic environments, you have to make sure that you ensure segregation and you continuously remove and reduce permissions.
Got it. Okay, good. Fantastic. Um, and what about security ramifications for the customers? If you don't monitor these access privileges, are you out of compliance then?
Definitely would end up being out of compliance. If you're overly permissive, it leads to unauthorized access, potential data breaches, and even complete account takeover. Non-compliance with regulatory requirements can result in fines, reputational damage. We got to make sure that we keep in mind that there is a shared responsibility model in the cloud, which means that AWS is only securing the underlying infrastructure, and we and you as the customer are responsible for securing the data and applications and the access to the cloud.
Yeah, because I know our customers have definitely used the AWS for their Sarbanes-Oxley, SOX compliance, for ISO, and also for the SOC compliance to show that they actually have a secure environment, but I'm sure others as well. All right, so Bill, enterprises need to attest their privileges for compliance as well, right?
Correct. Given that AWS infrastructure is a key component to most enterprise IT operations, attesting to access is part of key regulations like HIPAA and HITRUST for healthcare, SOX for public company, SOC for SaaS companies, and you have your NIST for federal operations and contractors, CMMC for defense, NERC for power, and it goes down the list.
Yeah, we have all sorts of documents that we can send you. What we've done is map the identity controls in all of those that Bill just listed out, and we quantify how the YouAttest product and offering helps you meet those compliance measures. Okay, just the high level, what it's all about in the audience is it's really about securing the data, right? You start at the data and work your way out. And for data, it's called for healthcare PHI. For financial, it's called PII. And then for defense, it's a CUI, controlled unclassified information. Either way, you start with the data, and then for compliance, you have to work your way out. Who has access to those machines? Who has access to the data? Who has access to the applications that have the data? And that's where we assist you in. Okay. So, and Chris, just to be blunt, and you like I said in the start of this, you've been around the block on these tools and all that. There's other tools in this space. What are some of the shortcomings in these tools when it comes specifically to AWS?
Yeah, definitely. When I'm working, with my customers and looking at some of the solutions that they try to implement, there's a few things that are going on. A lot of the user access review, security attestation, identity management, they try to solve 4, 5, 6 different things at once. And they really don't do any of them justice. They're really complex to deploy and manage. Cost is another big factor. When you start charging per system that you're integrating into, whether or not it be Google, AWS, SAP, that adds up really quickly.
Yeah, and that's and the way we license is we license straight out that says, hey, here's your user, use it for the roles you need, not just at AWS, use it in your Microsoft, use it in your applications, use it in even your Okta and everything else. That's how we license. Okay, so any other points you want to bring up about YouAttest compared to some of these others?
I would just say, you don't need to deploy infrastructure. You don't need to pay for professional services to either install or configure the solution. And, sometimes with the cost, people forego buying all these extra adapters and stuff, which you don't need to in this case because it's all included. And they end up manually collecting and uploading data. It just takes too much time and it's prone to error.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. The complexity of other solutions is usually where we win. Let me just do what no one wants to see. I'm going to do one slide and then we'll do a demo. Let me see if I can manage all these screens. Here we go. Okay, this is how we work. And I'm going to hit a button here and then magically the wrong screen. Bill, what screen am I showing? Am I showing the right
You're
screen?
showing the right one.
Thanks.
How
There
your
you
test works.
Blind squirrel finds a nut, right? There you go. Okay, so here we go. Okay, this is the world of identity and identity security and compliance. There's some out there, probably you out there, and got the role to be a risk manager, and that's a generic title. This could be in security, you could be in compliance, you could just be in IT. But you got these regulations, guidances, and frameworks. And then you have all these identities. I mean, all these things. Whether you got your in your Okta, your Azure AD, your Salesforce, your on-premise AD. What YouAttest does is imbibe these data into our cloud and our secure SOC 2 Type 2 tenant. From there, and this is metadata. We're all about who has access. We're about the POLP, principle of least privilege. Okay. So we imbibe that information, and then with a few clicks, as Kashif will show much better than I do, he will show us that what we do is we push out the roles, your current roles, this is what you're saying to this, out to the managers, and say, hey, are you good with these roles? Are you good with these permissions? Are you good with these fine-grained entitlements in the case of AWS? And then that creates the attestation report that goes to the security managers, the compliance managers, and your internal and external audits that Bill discussed. And unbelievable time savings. I mean, our customers have seen some serious time savings in this, and much better in accuracy and completeness. All right, take it away, Kashif. Let's show the audience this.
All right, let's share my screen, and please let me know when you have the visual.
We have visual. What you see in your screen.
Right. So this is the YouAttest dashboard. Currently, we have integrations available with Azure AD or Entra ID, Jump Cloud, Ping One, Okta, on-prem AD, and then we also have connectors built for Salesforce and including AWS, which we are going to show today. We have the integration built for AWS where we plug into their IAM to pull all the fine-grained entitlements into the tool and show it to you as an audit, and you can delegate that audit and those users from that point onwards to their respective managers or to anyone you like within the organization for the recertification or attestation purposes. So let's create an audit. We already have plugin for the AWS IAM. So I'm going to create that audit here. And then you give it a date, a due date, which is, the time frame you will allow your reviewers to complete the audit on your behalf, because there are only two roles in YouAttest. One is the admin who creates all the audits and assigns them to the respective managers and owners, and the other one is the reviewers. It could be the managers, the security people, compliance people, or anyone you would like to make part of this attestation process. So these are the only two users within YouAttest. These are the two entities. So I'll just go ahead and select September 10, depending upon the number of users you're dealing with. And then I'll select, instead of the CSV or Salesforce or any other connector, we have the AWS integration in place here. So I'll select the AWS integration. Next, it's going to ask us if we would like to include all the users, and do you want to fetch the root user as well? So I would say yes, import all the users, including the root user, and the type of audit, whether I want to use the group assigned to users, okay, fetch those as well, and fetch all the permissions and policies assigned to the users that we're going to pull from this audit. Once you submit, your audit is going to populate on the listings page over here. That's the name of the audit. It has pulled 12 users out of AWS. And I'm assuming these are the high privilege users, maybe all the admins, including the root account, the root user as well. Once we go inside that audit, you will see all these users with their, data. If you could click on more details, you will see things that have been flagged. So we are pulling their MFA status, we are pulling their password age, we are also pulling last time they've used this password, for how long they've been using that. So we pull that information. If anything is not according to what the policies dictate within AWS, it's going to flag that user and that status within the system. So over here, it's a good information for security people within the company. They can see the last activity. Let's say you have set it for like 145 days or 45 days. It's over 45 days, it's going to flag it. Once you have disabled your MFA, the multi-factor authentication is disabled, it's going to flag that status as well. And let's say for this password change, if it's available, you have set it for like 3 months and it's gone beyond that, it's going to flag it as well. And anything that we flag, we indicate that right against that user, so the people or auditor or the reviewer knows what are they dealing with when they see that flag mark against any user. And then when we talk about pulling the information about the policy and permissions, it's going to show you those entitlements in form of a separate, every single line item. For example, if I open this, it's going to show you this is the group this person is a member of. These are the policies. That's in terms of the access. So if you want to revoke one of these policies, all you need to do is check that and recommend to revoke that policy for that particular user. With the root account, we don't have any actions. I mean, you cannot suspend or revoke or do anything with the root account, but it gives you the details. For example, when was the account created, if MFA is enabled, so that sort of thing. But with the rest of the users, you can delegate, you can certify, you can recommend to revoke the users as well. All you need to do is come over here, select auto delegate, and if you have the manager's information against these users, it will go out directly to those managers these users report to. Otherwise, if not, you can just check these users and manually delegate to anyone within the company who you think should be reviewing their access. And that person will get an email, which will look something like this, like a notification, and along with the link to the audit. Once they will click on the link, they will see the information about the users, and they'll be able to do the same thing as an admin can do by either revoking or certifying their access. Once you do that, you can download the report in 2 formats. One is the PDF, the other one is the CSV. So PDF looks something like this. Let me just open that up for you. So here's the all the entitlements and everything you've just reviewed and given your recommendation along with a timestamp for each recommendation. And if you want it to be a CSV, it looks something like this, where you have all the information about the root account, last login date, MFA status, password age, last activity, and everything. So that can be used as the final evidence that you can present either internally or to your external auditors and to complete your attestation process for AWS. Anything else, Garrett, that you would like to share?
That's great stuff. That's great stuff, and that's what the YouAttest customers use here in AWS. So, Chris, is this relevant to your AWS customers and in other users?
Yeah, most definitely, Garrett. 2024 security, compliance, risk management, they're all top of mind. These threats of a breach, lateral movement, overprivileged account, it really keeps, my customers up at night. YouAttest really makes the complex straightforward. What we really didn't see in the demo is how easy it was to set this up, to be able to connect up to Entra or Okta, and then pull everything in from AWS and have that auto assignment, right?
There you go.
The fact
and that's what follow-up calls are. That's what we'll do with our customers there. And Bill, why don't you talk a little about some of the other offerings you came up with, Chris, around AWS and any identity store?
Sure. So not only, everybody knows this as for doing automated user access reviews, but a couple other use cases are the identity pen test. So before you even start an audit, you need to set a baseline. So you want to clean up your identities by finding all those ghost and orphan accounts. So you do a one-time pen test before you do your user access review. Another one is using it for SaaS license discovery. So, for companies that have all these different licenses, you want to do a check to see, is the person that's have they used the licenses? Has it been 60 or 90 days since they used the licenses? So you can recoup license costs. So those are what we came up with.
Good stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Chris, let's wrap this up. Why don't you tell the world how they can reach you?
Yeah, sure. You can reach out directly to me over email at chris.kesik, Kesik, at cloudarmee.com with the double E. It's linked to my profile in the LinkedIn meeting here. And also, you can go directly to the CloudArmee page on LinkedIn and send a direct message, and someone will get back to you.
Fantastic. And team out there in audience land, I know that started late on the LinkedIn Live. We're going to have the full recording up, and we'll be sending it out to everyone directly and posting it directly to this LinkedIn site. Okay, y'all. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Kashif. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.